The fluorescent lights of Ashworth Industries. Executive floor had never felt so cold. Maria Santos clutched her cleaning cart with trembling hands, her knuckles white against the metal handle. 23 years she'd worked in this building, mopping the same marble floors, polishing the same mahogany desks, invisible to everyone except when they needed something cleaned. But today, she wasn't invisible. Today, every eye in that boardroom was on her, and none of them held kindness. "You have 48 hours. Mrs. Santos," Charles Ashworth said, his voice carrying the casual cruelty of someone who'd never worried about a mortgage payment in his life. "Your son opens that safe or you're finished here. And good luck finding another job at your age with the reference I'll give you." The other executives laughed. To them, this was entertainment, an amusing diversion from their quarterly reports. They didn't see the single mother who'd raised 3 kids on a cleaning woman's salary. They didn't know about the night shifts, the skipped meals, the worn-through shoes she'd resoled 5 times because new ones weren't in the budget. They saw only a problem to be solved, a piece that no longer fit their puzzle. Maria's son, Daniel, was 17 years old and worked weekends at a small locksmith shop in Brooklyn, learning the trade from old Mr. Henderson, who'd taken pity on a kid, desperate to help his mom with bills. Daniel had gentle eyes and his mother's quiet strength, the kind of teenager who helped elderly neighbors with their groceries, without being asked, who tutored kids in his building for free because he remembered what it felt like to struggle. When Maria came home that evening, her face told Daniel everything before she spoke a word. They sat at their tiny kitchen table, the same one where he'd done homework as a child, where they'd celebrated small victories and weathered countless storms together. "They're going to fire me, mijo," she whispered. And for the first time in his life, Daniel saw his mother, his unshakable mother, truly afraid. "Mr. Ashworth's grandfather built a safe decades ago. Some kind of custom mechanical lock, the most complex thing the company ever made. The billionaire who bought it died, and his estate needs it opened for the will reading. The original company blueprints were lost in a fire. Every locksmith in the city has tried. Ashworth says if we can't do it in 2 days, I'm done." "Why you?" Daniel asked, though he already knew the answer. Rich men loved their games, loved reminding people like them of their place in the world. "Because he thinks it's funny," Maria said simply. "Because he can." Daniel didn't sleep that night. He pulled out every book Mr. Henderson had lent him, scoured online forums where locksmiths traded techniques and theories. By dawn, he'd filled 6 notebooks with calculations, diagrams, theories about mechanical lock systems from the 1950s, the era when old Ashworth had been building safes. The safe sat in a climate-controlled room in a mansion in Greenwich, Connecticut. Daniel took 3 buses to get there, arriving at a house that could have fit 50 of his apartment inside it. The estate executor, a severe woman in pearls, looked him up and down with undisguised skepticism. "You're the locksmith?" she asked, her tone making clear what she thought of his youth. His cheap jacket, his subway-worn sneakers. "I'm going to try," Daniel said. Charles Ashworth was there too, along with a dozen lawyers, all waiting for the spectacle to fail. The safe was beautiful, an antique masterpiece of brushed steel and brass, standing 6 feet tall with a dial face that looked like a work of art. Daniel could see, immediately, why everyone had failed. This wasn't just a lock. It was a puzzle, a mechanical philosophy expressed in tungsten pins and brass tumblers. "Clock's ticking, kid," Ashworth said, checking his Rolex. "Though, I suppose I should thank you for giving me a good reason to finally replace your mother. She's been getting slow anyway. Old knees, you know how it is." The lawyers chuckled. Daniel's hands balled into fists, but he thought of his mother, of her dignity in the face of their cruelty, and he let it go. He placed his hands on the safe dial, closed his eyes, and began to feel. This was what Mr. Henderson had taught him, what no book could explain. A safe isn't just a machine. It's a conversation between the maker and the opener, a dialogue conducted in clicks and resistance, in the subtle language of metal against metal. You don't conquer a safe. You listen to it, respect it, understand what its creator wanted to say. Hours passed. Daniel's fingers moved with surgical precision, turning, testing, feeling for the ghost whispers of engagement. He mapped the lock in his mind, building a 3-dimensional model of its interior landscape. The room grew quiet. Even Ashworth stopped checking his watch. Daniel found himself thinking about the original Ashworth, the grandfather who'd built this. He'd been an immigrant, too, Daniel had read. Came from Germany with nothing but his skill with mechanical things. Before he became rich, before he founded the company, he'd been like Daniel's mother, an outsider working with his hands, building something from nothing. The lock clicked differently, once, then again. Daniel's eyes opened. He'd found something the others had missed, a secondary mechanism, a fail-safe that engaged only if you approached the primary lock incorrectly. It was brilliant, paranoid, and achingly human. The old man had been afraid someone would force their way in, so he'd created a trap that would seal the safe permanently if attacked. You couldn't force this safe. You had to court it, seduce it, understand it. It's going to take longer, Daniel said quietly. But I know how it works now. You have 4 hours, Ashworth snapped. Then I'm calling this failed experiment finished. Daniel worked through the afternoon. His fingers cramped, his back ached, but he kept going. He thought of his mother's hands, calloused from decades of labor, still gentle when she'd bandaged his childhood scrapes. He thought of Mr. Henderson, who'd given him a chance when no one else would. He thought of everyone who'd ever been dismissed, underestimated, treated as less than. The safe wasn't just hiding wealth. It was protecting dignity. The dignity of a craftsman who'd wanted his work to outlive him, to stand as testimony that he'd existed, that he'd mattered. 3 hours and 47 minutes after he'd begun the final sequence, Daniel felt the last tumbler fall into place. The sound was like music, like a door opening onto possibility. He turned the handle, and the safe door swung open on silent hinges. Inside was everything the estate executor needed, but also something else. A letter, written in careful German script, from the safe's creator to whoever opened it. Daniel read it aloud, translating slowly. If you have opened this honestly, with skill and patience, then you understand. We build our legacies not in gold, but in craft, in dignity, in the work of our hands. Remember this. The room was silent. Charles Ashworth's face had gone pale. The estate executor was crying, though Daniel wasn't sure why. Your mother keeps her job, Ashworth said finally, his voice stripped of its earlier cruelty. And you send me your bill, the full professional rate. But Daniel shook his head. I don't want money. I want something else. My mom gets a pension, full benefits, and a raise. And you stop treating people like they're disposable. He shouldn't have said it. He was nobody, a 17-year-old kid with no power, no leverage. But he'd just done something impossible. And for once in his life, he had a voice that would be heard. Ashworth stared at him for a long moment. Then incredibly, he nodded. The story might have ended there, but it didn't. The video of Daniel opening the safe went viral, recorded by one of the lawyers who'd been moved by the moment. The letter from the old craftsman resonated with millions who felt unseen, undervalued, treated as less than. Daniel received scholarship offers from 3 universities. Mr. Henderson's locksmith business got more work than he could handle, but what Daniel remembered most was coming home that evening to find his mother in their kitchen, crying again, but differently this time. She held a letter from Ashworth Industries confirming everything Daniel had demanded, plus something extra, a college fund for each of her children, established in the name of the original Ashworth, the immigrant craftsman who'd understood what it meant to build something with your hands. You did this, Maria whispered, holding her son close. No, Daniel said. We did this. You taught me that dignity isn't something someone can give you or take away. It's something you carry inside, something you protect no matter what. I just reminded them of that. Outside their window, the city lights sparkled like promises. Somewhere in Greenwich, an old safe stood open, its secrets revealed, its purpose fulfilled. And in Brooklyn, a mother and son sat together at a worn kitchen table, rich in the only currency that truly mattered, the unbreakable wealth of love, perseverance, and the quiet power of never forgetting who you are.